Nearly 25 years ago, the world made a promise to children that we will do everything in our power to protect and promote their rights to survive and thrive, to learn and grow, to make their voices heard and reach their full potentials. As we mark the anniversary of this promise, stakeholders say a lot still needs to be done to fully deliver on this promise. So on the program today, we will be looking at the situation in Nigeria and how best to accelerate progress towards full realization of these commitments. My name is Okamechi Somto, and this is Dateline Nigeria. Nigeria is signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, the CRC, and has since domesticated these rights with the passage of the Child Rights Act in 2003. This has helped save or transform the lives of many children across the country, and my guest today on the show will tell us how. She is an education officer with UNICEF and supports child-friendly schooling and education in emergencies. She is Dr. Judith Giwamu, and we will meet her after this break. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're looking at the Convention of the Right of the Child, CRC, as this is the 25th year. We're celebrating the 25th anniversary of this convention. Could you quickly tell us, give us a bit of the highlights of this CRC?
Well, the CRC, which is the convention, the United Nations Convention for the Rights of the Child, has taken into consideration, several issues that affect the well-being of the child. There are actually 54 articles, and right from the first article, we talks of the definition of a child. A child is a human being that is under the age of 18, down to the rights that the rights the government has, or the government's responsibility as duty bearers to ensure that the child's rights are actually actualized, down, to rights of the child to education, rights of the child to be protected, right for the child to enjoy what is in the best interest of the child, rights concerning non-discrimination. So race, religion, creed, all those ones don't have an issue. Down to the 54th article, they all focus on issues, bringing to the world an awareness that the child actually has these rights, and it is our responsibility as duty bearers to ensure that the rights of the child are achieved.
Okay, it's been 25 years since this convention came into being. How has this changed the plight of the Nigerian child? Would you say that this has provided better prospects for the lives of children in Nigeria?
Yes, I would say that, because Nigeria Nigeria is one of the countries that, ratified, that are signatories to that convention, and they have domesticated these rights. For us in Nigeria, we have the Child Rights Act, and that was passed in 2003. And basically, we find that as we move on, there's more awareness. You have more people reporting, this child has not gone to school, this child is missing, issues to do with the child is being reported. I think people are now taking, before, what people did not, in fact, people did not even, appreciate the fact that children had rights. You go to schools, there's corporal punishment. The child has the right to be protected from violence. So now people are taking more consideration of these rights. They are being very careful in what they do with children. We're getting there. We're not yet there as at now, but we're getting there gradually. I think there's more awareness, to the rights of the child.
Let us look at the crisis in Nigeria, security crisis we have, especially in northeastern Nigeria. You support a child-friendly schooling and education in emergency situation. Looking at what is going on in the northeastern part of this country, could you give us a clear picture of how the children in these areas are losing out?
Well, first of all, some of the children, the rights to protection, some of these children have been separated. The main duty bearer to the child is the parent. So a situation whereby children are separated from the parents, they're already been denied. Then you come to a situation whereby children are abducted. That is also impinging on the right of the child to be protected. Children are being co-opted into some of them are taking up arms, all in the name of JTF. It is not right. The child, the CRC or the Child Rights Act prohibits that. It is totally not acceptable. And then you have issues of children losing out in school. Education is the mainstay of a child towards, and also contributes to the development of the nation. When a child is denied his right because of emergency, it means that that child is losing out. When you compare it to the other children in other parts of the country, then you have you have this discriminatory and marginalization, whereby that child will not in future have the confidence to perform as well as the child in the other parts of the country. And mind you, when the child is not in school, because education, let me say the school environment is protective. So the child can now be co-opted into some of this unwholesome behavior, which is what we are trying to fight against. So there's a whole range of issues that constitute denial of children of their rights in this emergency situation.
So, considering this situation, how then do we reach these children with these provisions of the CRC so that to ensure that they enjoy a meaningful existence?
Okay, for us, we have the Ministry of Women Affairs. They have the mandate to be able to cater for vulnerable children. So ideally, in these situations, even when children are separated, when they are orphaned because their parents, have lost, their parents have lost their lives as a result of these insurgent attacks, the Ministry of Women Affairs is supposed to come and take, ownership and, take care of these children towards rehabilitating them. I was in Yola a month ago, and I was able to visit the PAMSEC of the Ministry of Women Affairs. I was able to visit their home. They have a children's home. And, I was able to appreciate the efforts she had made, with, talking, through bilateral conversations with NEMA in the camp to be able to get these children to come to them. And actually, about 8 of the children had been received by them and was being taken care of. And in this environment, they also have a school. They have, a clinic where they have doctors coming in because you have issues to do with health. So those are also the rights. So you want to make sure that the children have access to quality health care.
While I was going to a couple of documents to release to mark this 25th anniversary of the Child Rights Convention, I noticed that quite a number of these documents point to the fact that commitments made to children are yet to be fulfilled. Many still die within the first month of birth. Millions, especially girls, are still missing out on education, which you rightly pointed out. And there is still the issue of violence, abuse, and exploitation, economic exploitation as well. So, what would you say is really hindering the delivery of these promises?
There are many issues, but let me just, first of all, in Nigeria, there's this perception among some, not everyone, that do children really have rights? In schools, the child misbehaves, instead of looking for other ways, to correct the child, you hit the child. There was a time we went for monitoring, school health monitoring. And right as we entered I think that was in one of the states, right as we entered the gate, we saw a teacher beating a child. And when we introduced ourselves, we came for monitoring. The teacher didn't even know. So, first of all, the awareness, some like the duty bearers, they need to be aware, right from the government, federal government, state, local government, and even community. They need to be aware that these children have rights. In the schools, they need to be aware that these children have rights. And they need to protect these children and ensure that their rights are achieved. So for me, first of all, that's awareness creation. 2, people don't believe the children have rights. 3, people don't even believe that, like the issue of adoption. People don't believe an adopted child, who's not a biological child, has a right to inheritance. So all those issues, and I think the main way to ensure that this does not continue is an increased awareness, so that people are aware and they know that it is not only in Nigeria, it is in other parts of the country, of the world, that children are being given their rights. And then the fact that it is our role as duty bearers. Of course, we have people, like I said, coming in reporting issues that were not reported before. Child trafficking is being reported, and so many other issues are being reported, and steps are taken towards correcting. But then there's still a lot that needs to be done.
Yes. Okay, quickly, let me also ask, still on the issue of abuse and violence, beyond the schools and beyond public settings, we know that such things still exist within the domestic settings, maybe in the hands of even their parents or house help. Like before we started this, I was watching a video somebody put up on Facebook about a house help. I'm not sure it's in Nigeria, I'm not sure where it is, but maltreated a child so badly, but that was caught on a hidden camera in the house. So when things like this happen, who do you go to?
Well, we have what we call the NAPTIP. We also have law enforcement officers. I think the main thing is, like I said, if there's awareness created, even some neighbors have reported, oh, we hear a child crying, we hear a child not going to school and all that. There's also the social welfare system. So they are all connected, the law enforcement, the social welfare system, and also the courts. So a situation where this is happening, it should be reported to the social welfare system. They are the ones that will now go. They will identify, maybe make some little investigation, go with the police officers, and the police officers will arrest if the arrest is needed, and then it goes through the court process. So that's how it works.
Okay, moving on now, the rights of inclusion and participation. How do we entrench this even in the school setting, especially for girls? So, we want girls to be heard. We want children to be heard. We want children to participate in issues that concern them and be in charge of their own welfare if they are up to that age. So how do we entrench this right, especially for those children who come from marginalized or vulnerable groups?
Okay, I would like to say that a few years ago, UNICEF got involved in a project, and this project had to do with learners' participation, learners' inclusion, learners' equity. This particular project, developed documents that were mainstreamed into some settings, looking at what is the responsibility. You say you want to introduce an intervention for the benefit in the best interest of the child. Did you involve the child in even in the development of this document. A few months ago, 2 months ago, when we had this Ebola issue, and we put together some documents, child-friendly, reader-friendly documents, handbooks, because what we have all there is all so serious, and when you look at primary school children, that's not going to sail. So we got together to put colorful, making it using a kind of child-friendly language. How do you get, as opposed to how do you catch, as opposed to how do you get, like that. We, in course of developing those documents, at a point we had to bring in children. We brought in children from a rural setting and children from urban setting, and we made them critique that work. You'll be surprised what they came up with. There was another one we did to do with emergency preparedness and response at school level, because whether we like it or not, the action is at the school level. They need to protect, of course, it's all the levels, but at the school level it's so direct, especially what has been happening. And one of the states we went to, the children's contribution was so wonderful. It changed the way, because our own perception was this is what is good, but they are the ones, you're doing it for them. They are the right holders. So you have to include them. The same thing with the girl child. The girl child has her own potentials to bring in. And when you are, constructing, when you're putting together, conceptualizing programs, you have to take into consideration issues of the girl child. I give an example in sports. People think that the girls, should be more delicate. Well, there are some, let me call genderized sports like netball. But there are also some sports that if the girl is maybe appropriately attired, according to the cultural norms, the child can do it. The child can even perform better. And, look at what's happening in the Falconets. That says a lot. So now is the time more than ever before for our society to realize that the rights of the girl child need to be actualized. The girls have potential. It's gone are the days when you say, they'll get married and lose the father's name. They, as individuals, look at our ministers. It's been showcased everywhere. We have a lot of female ministers that have performed very well and are our role model. They went through the school setting. They went through formal education. So I think in issues of inclusion and participation, it is of utmost importance that they are the girl child, even the special needs. The special needs are often left out, and I was very impressed. There was some work I had to do. Look at their performance in the Olympics. They were the ones that brought more of the glory to us. When I was involved in a sports program because of my, responsibility in child-friendly schooling, and I found out that for the Deaflympics, in that organization, the head was somebody who had been a former accountant general in Nasarawa State. So the fact that those abilities are, affected doesn't mean that the other ones are subdued. More than ever before, I hear that those ones even come out more and showcase, So I think, in ensuring that this special, people living with, disabilities or special needs, it makes them feel like they have something to contribute, and indeed they do as human beings.
Some things that we may not even recognize as special needs for children, like a clear example in school setting is something like dyslexia. So many people don't understand it's a problem. So, and then you keep saying that this child is a dunce, this child is so daft, she can't learn anything, and then you keep the person in regular school without any special attention. Every day, he or she returns at the end of the term with bad grades. So, I'm wondering, how do we accelerate progress, to get to address some of these issues? There are special schools, but probably we don't have enough of them. And even in regular schools, because some of these children can still do well, but with probably some extra attention. So how do we get this right?
Okay, I want to say, again, as part of the sports program which I coordinated, I had the opportunity to visit a school, A.A. Raji in Sokoto State. More than ever before, what is advocated for is inclusive education. We really don't want these children segregated. They have the right to grow with their peers, to do the things that the peers do. And that is why, when we're thinking of sports, we're thinking of, okay, if they cannot be running, maybe they're physically, they have, visually challenged, they can be doing other things. They can, recreation. In that school, it was just a clear example of inclusive education. You had 3 teachers. So you had children, the children with no needs, the children with special needs. And as the teacher was, explaining, the other one was signing, the children with no needs, they were also learning the sign language because they know the sign language. And then the other, so you're meeting the needs, the children are growing in an inclusive, that is what we advocate for. But like you said, it is not very common. So there needs to be more, opportunities to teachers for teachers to be trained to be able to deliver quality education for this kind of children. Then also the teachers, as part of their, their training, pre-service training, it is very important that issues to do with identification of some of these, these disorders that can affect the learning of the child, so that they are able to recognize a child that you are able to take into, take effort, you watch this child and you see that the child is not doing well. Again, we have issues of teacher-pupil ratio overcrowding. If a teacher is overwhelmed trying to deal with like 100 children, she's not likely going to see the quiet child that gets missed out, because some of these quiet children get missed out. So now we are coming back to our policies, really implementing. We have these policies. We have what you call teacher-pupil ratio, one teacher to about 40, 45. But are these things being done? In some cases, in some of the foreign settings, they have more than one teacher in the class. So we're looking at those issues. We're looking at where does the role of guidance counseling come in? When the child has remedial problems in class, and the teacher, keep on seeing the result of this child, it is then that the guidance counselor should come in. If the guidance counselor comes in, interacts with this child, it can make, referral, to the parents. I think you need to seek, some attention. I have interacted with this child. So all that system, and that's why we talk of system building, all that system has to be brought to the forefront, whereby these things are taken into consideration. You're not just interested in delivering education. Oh, we've had, 50 lessons. What is the quality? What is coming out? What is learning? How can we measure learning? So there's a lot, but we can start, and we have actually, in some cases we've started. We need to follow it. We need to really make sure that the policy is being implemented as it should be.
Okay, rounding up now, the issue of the CRC, Child Rights Convention, I've got fundamental rights of education, health, adequate standard of living, and then fundamental protection from economic exploitation, early marriage, and for children with disability. It's 25 years now, and we've recorded some progress. But like you rightly mentioned, a lot more still needs to be done. Final question for you now. How do you think we can accelerate the pace of change so that so we can ensure full realization of all this?
All of us, we have a corporate responsibility, right from the federal government. In fact, I think Article 4 talks about the government being responsible for the actualization of the rights of the child. Rights, the government, the state government, the community, the home. We are the duty bearers. They are the right holders. It is our responsibility to ensure that these are, actualized. And I think that increased awareness, there has to be increased awareness, because if people don't even know, they think it's a normal, it's business as before. It is not acceptable, because the child has its rights. The child needs to be protected. The child needs to be directed and supported to actualizing these rights. And each of us, we need to be made to realize that it is our responsibility. Unless that is done, we will always have this issue. Because as long as even in the local community, the neighbor realizes that something is going on here and keeps quiet because it's not my business, that neighbor has played a role in denying, indirectly, whether we want it to, whether I want to say it directly, or that neighbor has played a role in denying that child. It's right.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today on the show.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here.
Convention on the Rights of the Child has asked us all to imagine a better world for children and make that vision a reality. So in this next video, courtesy UNICEF, we see Nigerians give us their views on a better nation for our children.
My name is Alilu. My passion is for education. I can imagine a Nigeria where all the children are educated, especially the girls.
Any parent right now who does not understand or believe in the girl-child education is not a true parent.
I imagine a Nigeria where every child is educated, where every girl has the opportunity to become what she wants to be, where every baby that is born is free from HIV.
Every parent should understand that every child needs to be educated, and please make an effort to send the children to school. It's important, please.
I'm using this medium to implore virtually all Nigerians to, in most of those places where they don't give the female as much education as they give the boys, please, the females deserve the same equal education like a male does. So please, I beg of you, let them be as educated as the boys.
When children are unable to fulfill their potentials, it is not only they who suffer the consequences, but all of us. Their well-being is a direct reflection of the well-being of the society as a whole. I will leave you with that and say thank you for staying with us on the program today. Hope to see you again next week. My name is Okamechi Somto. Enjoy the rest of your day.